Hello and welcome to Cayman Conversations, real life, real topics. Today, the Honorable Minister Kenneth Bryan, Director of Tourism, Rosemary Harris, Chairman of the Cayman Airport Authority, Johan Maxim, and CEO of Cayman Airport Authority, Albert Anderson, will be hosting a press briefing to provide the public with information on Cabinet's approval of the airport's master plan and redevelopment projects. I will be attending at 1 p.m. to ask questions. Until then, enjoy local entertainment from Caymanian musicians.
Miss everything, where have you been? Oh, I've searched for you my whole life through. Miss everything. Miss everything, where have you been? Oh, I've searched for you my whole life through. Miss everything. She walks and talks the way I love. Miss everything. She's a special kind of girl, and I want her in my world, Lord. Make good love to me, make good love to me, make good love to me all the time. Miss everything, where have you been? Oh, I've searched for you my whole life through. Miss everything. She walks and talks the way I love. Miss everything. She's a special kind of girl. Let's just let this love unfurl, Lord. Make good love to me, make good love to me, make good love to me all the time. Miss everything, where have you been? Oh, I've searched for you my whole life through. Miss everything. She walks and talks the way I love. Miss everything. She walks and talks the way I love. Miss everything. She's a special kind of girl. Let's just let this love unfurl, Lord. Make good love to me, make good love to me, make good love to me all the time. Oh, I wanna love you more.
A man looks to his woman, says, I don't know what you see in me. You make me feel this way. Many years go by, we live, we laugh, we cry. She said, from the start you stole my heart. I wanna love you more and more. And don't you know I is in a car. One says he's going far to make a better way. The other, he exclaimed, I wish I felt the same. No matter where you go, I want you to know that I wanna love you more and more. And don't you know I wanna love you more and more and more. And don't you know, out there on the streets, strangers we will meet. We all have different views to show, but if we join our heads and hands to make a master plan, see the colors make a beautiful rainbow. Oh yeah, oh. Oh yeah, oh. What in the world have we come to? Whom this life should we run to? We all know the answer. Ways to gift of forgiving. Look at the life that we live in. I want you to know that I wanna love you more and more. And don't you know I wanna love you more and more and more. And don't you know, though we come from different sides, living different lives, ooh, that's okay. It's still the same old sun shines on everyone every day. Oh, I wanna love you more and more. And don't you know I wanna love you more and more and more. And don't you know I wanna love you more and more. And don't you know I wanna love you more and more and more. And don't you know I wanna love you more and more and more. Ooh, oh yeah, I wanna love you more and more and more. And don't you know I wanna love you more and more. Ooh, oh yeah, I wanna love you more and more and more. And don't you know wanna love you more and more and
Marcus Garvey said, what's it?
Wheresoever you go throughout the world, the black man is discarded, is ostracized, is relegated to the lowest of things, social, political, and economical. This therefore is just a problem and one that must be solved.
Oh yeah, Black my story, real life story. Listen up while I shut down Babylon. Black my story, don't try to stop me. 500 years under colonial plan. Emancipation, liberation through democracy. Long time we trod in freedom roads and still not free. Equal rights and justice for humanity. We want one God, one aim and one destiny. Black my story, not his story. I come here to be mash down Babylon. A black my story, don't try to stop me. I just this time in a the Gideon. For the thieves, bloodsuckers and the wagonists, I'm here to tell you, say shadows will come to light. If you want to say your life, make your deeds positive. And no more sorry excuses are gone bye-bye. Good night, yeah. And now I lay you down to sleep. I know your mama weeps. I cry, yes I cry. But that's the way we're living out here on the street. Black, black, black. Whoa,
Like
hey.
you have to fight your way to it, whether you will or
Black
not.
my story. Weeping and the wailing and the gnashing of teeth. Black my story. Don't try to stop me. I come here suffer but down Babylon. Black my story, real life story. A judgment time in the Gideon. Discrimination, segregation and hypocrisy. Mental abuse and economic slavery. Equal rights and justice with morality. We want one God, one aim and one destiny. Unite, unite, yeah. Freedom fighters take the streets. No time to be weak. I cry, yes I cry. But Jah will take the curse away from I and I. Black, black, my story. Black is not his story. Black, 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 my story. Black is not his story. Black, 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 my story. Black is not his story. Black, 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 my story. Oh yeah, yeah. Black my story in misery. I come here softly but down Babylon. Black my story down in Milwaukee. I just this time in a the Gideon. Yeah, black my story, don't profile me. I come here softly but down Babylon. I black my story, real life story. I just this time in a the Gideon. Black my story, police brutality. Listen up while I chat down Babylon. Black my story, don't try to stop me. 500 years under colonial plan. Yeah, black, black, black my story, cause we should be free. teach your class now. Exam time now. Show them your pass now. One in the green now. Back it up and push it out and swing it up and bring it back down and put on your face and match up the place and turn around and roll up your waist and back it up now, push it up now, swing it up and bring it back down and turn around and spin around and slow it down. Show me what you can do. Show me what you can do. Show me what you can do. You're a nigga. Come to the front now. Push up your hand now. Show off your work now. Push up your grade now.
Hey, Lord. Well. Yesterday I was broke. Today I got paper beyond your dreams. That's gone up in smoke, and everything ain't what it seemed. Real comeback story. Come back. Real comeback story. Yesterday I was womanless. Today you checking out my beauty queen. Who job bless, I say no man taste. I believe that for real. Real comeback story. Come back. Real comeback story. Yesterday I was walking the block. Today you checking out my chariot. And some wanting what I've got. You put nothing in this pot. Real comeback story. Come back. Real comeback story. Yesterday I was broke. Today I got paper beyond your dreams. Has gone up in smoke, and everything ain't what it seems. Real comeback story. Real comeback story. Real comeback story.
Show me what you can do. You're a nigga.
incredible. We be consuming these beats like they edible. Level up. On this track, getting better, bro. Like I sing shots, slinging rocks, we gon' let it go. Pop, pop, pop. And you better know. I be on top. Yo, pass me the rock. Yeah, never let go, cause the love in your soul gotta burn, gotta glow. Hold on, never let go. 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 Yeah. Sucking like. Yeah. Break it down. Never let go, cause we got a country to wake up. Everybody stop, play, wake up. Cause the youth them is wasting. Please can we save them, come on. We got a country to wake up. Everybody stop, play, wake up. Cause the youth them is wasting. Please can we save them, come on. We got a country to wake up. Everybody stop, play, wake up. Cause the youth them is wasting. Please can we save them, come on. Depression may grab at you, try to put you in a chokehold. But this is what happens when life is a savage. It's bound to bring damage, so hold on, never let go. 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 Red light.
Yeah,
Na, 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 na.
the sun is up, the sun is up. The sun is up and it's smiling. Another clear blue perfect day.
Paradise.
A warm breeze from the ocean.
Warm breeze blows your troubles away.
East to West Bay. Oh yeah.
A
Check it out. I don't need to be on top. I just need to be there when the beat gon' drop. Hit me with the music so my feet don't stop. 3, 4, 5, I represent the realest rock. Life is incredible. We be consuming these beats like they edible. Level up. On this track, getting better, roll like a slingshot, slinging rocks. We gon' let it go. Pop, pop, pop. And you better know. I be on top. Yo, pass me the rock. Yeah, never let go, cause the love in your soul gotta burn, gotta glow. Hold on, never let go. 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 Never let go, cause we got our country to wake up. Everybody stop, play, wake up. Cause the youth them is wasting. Please can we save them, come on. We got our country to wake up. Everybody stop, play, wake up. Cause the youth them is wasting. Please can we save them, come on. We got our country to wake up. Everybody stop, play, wake up. Cause the youth them is wasting. Please can we save them, come on. Depression may grab at you, try to put you in a chokehold. But this is what happens when life is a savage. It's about to bring damage, so hold on, never let go. 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 Never let go.
3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's press briefing held by the Ministry of Tourism and Ports. I'm Donna Bush, and I'm so happy you could join us on our various CIG channels. Today's press briefing will provide you, the public, with details on Cabinet's approval of the airport's master plan and redevelopment project. We welcome our panelists, starting with our Minister for Tourism and Ports, the Honourable Kenneth Bryan, Chairman of the Cayman Islands Airports Authority Board, Mr. Johan Moxham, CEO of the CIAA, Mr. Albert Anderson, and the Department of Tourism's Director, Mrs. Rosa Harris. Joining us in studio are members of the media, as well as senior civil servants and the Senior CIAA Projects Manager, Mr. Roy Williams. Also via Zoom, we have Chief Officer Strand Bodden joining us, as well as Ryan Major from Travel Pulse, Ernie Sion from the Caribbean Media Corporation, and Bevan Springer from Marketplace Excellence. We go first to the Honourable Kenneth Bryan.
Thank you, Donna. Good afternoon to all of you, and thank you for joining us. The fact that you've taken the time to join us today whether in studio or listening on the radio or via social media, is an indication of your interest in hearing the news and the updates from your government, and I thank you for showing that interest. I've called this press conference today alongside my partners at the Cayman Airports Authority to provide the country with some important news regarding enhancements to our island's airport infrastructure and to discuss the decisions that have been taken to improve the safety and the comfort and the efficiency at our airport operations. As the public would be aware, our airports cater to commercial and general aviation traffic. Towards the end of 2019, just prior to the start of the COVID pandemic, our commercial, business, and tourist sectors were all experiencing significant growth. While this was a good sign for the economy, it was also placing significant stress on our airports' systems and their infrastructure. Shortly after taking office, having met with the leadership and the management at the Airports Authority, I notified the public that work had commenced on updating the country's airport master plan to guide the ongoing development of our airports for over the next 20 years. In aviation terms, airport master plans are typically reviewed and updated every 5 to 7 years. The existing Cayman Islands plan was approved by Cabinet in 2014 and has not been updated since. I'm happy to advise the country that the process to update our airport's master plan has been successfully completed. This comprehensive 286-page document builds upon previous airport master plans and clearly identifies the opportunities and the constraints associated with our existing airport infrastructure and includes recommendations for improvement. I'm also pleased to advise that the outline business case presented to Cabinet on the 25th of May has been approved. The outline business case is a substantial component of the master planning process, and its purpose is to examine each of the recommendations identified in the plan and to provide the financial analysis and the cost. As such, it is a document that Cabinet has taken time to study and scrutinize in order to make its determinations. After careful consideration of all the options presented in the business case and their associated cost, I'm happy to announce that 4 specific projects have been granted approval by Cabinet to move forward. The projects will be carried out at the Owen Roberts International Airport and the Charles Kirkernel International Airport in Cayman Brac, and they are as follows. 1, extending the runway at the Owen Roberts International Airport at the cost of $28 million in CI in today's prices. And 2, improving the air traffic control surveillance systems at the Owen Roberts International Airport at the cost of $4.7 million. And 3, the provision of the new general aviation facility at the cost of $42 million. And finally, number 4, undertaking runway and safety area works, commonly known as RESA, at the Charles Kirkernel International Airport in Cayman Brac at a cost of $1.15 million CI dollars. The total cost of these enhancements and development projects, captioned as Scenario 4 in the outline business case, amounts to $76 million CI dollars and represents a significant and necessary investment in our airport's facilities, which serve as our international gateways and windows to the rest of the world. The entire slate of recommendations outlined in the business case call for an initial investment of, for an investment of over $800 million over the next 20 years, which is not feasible to consider in the current economic environment. Consequently, government has strategically selected the projects, 4 projects that will, 1, are necessary to address the safety and regulatory concerns, 2, provide the greatest business development opportunities for the country, 3, that are affordable to the country, and 4th and final, that provide solid foundation to support continued growth in our amazing tourism sector. Having received the green light from Cabinet, these projects will now proceed to the next phases of the development process, which are public consultation, environmental impact assessment, and procurement. As it is customary, the Cayman Islands Airports Authority will follow open, transparent, and competitive procurement processes, ensuring value for money is achieved at all phases of these projects. On completion, they're expected to deliver significant economic benefits and will have a major impact on our ability to strategically grow our tourism industry over time. These benefits include increased stayover visitor spending, increased revenues for the Cayman Islands government, increased opportunities for additional airlift into Grand Cayman, and a greater overall profitability for the Cayman Islands Airports Authority. Given the significance of these projects to the country's long-term economic success, the revenue required to fund the projects will be derived from increasing the terminal fees to $5, as well as introducing a new airport development fee of $15. It is important to note that the Airports Authority will not require any funding from the government to complete these projects. The new airport development fee will be applicable only during the construction period, which is estimated to be for 6 years from the year 2024 to 2029. This means that neither the Airports Authority nor the government will need to borrow funds in order to cover the estimated capital and the operating expenditure during the lifetime of the projects. Additionally, I think it's also worth noting that from a competitive standpoint, an analysis of comparable airports within the Caribbean region shows that the Cayman Islands passenger-related fees would be more in line with destinations such as Jamaica and Bahamas. In other words, we would not be pricing ourselves outside the market. A crucial part of the government's responsibility in managing our tourism industry is to bring about solutions that will boost our ability to retain our market share as a leading tourism destination. Tourism is one of the most competitive industries on planet Earth, and it is therefore imperative that we not only maintain the quality of our facilities and services that the Cayman Islands offer, but we also bring them in line with the best in the world and to keep pace with the changing expectations and requirements of our visitors. Countries across the region that we compete with on a daily basis, such as Anguilla, Antigua, Aruba, Bahamas, Barbados, British Virgin Islands, Jamaica, and the Turks and Caicos Islands, having recognized the need for airport growth to increase their tourism sectors, have either made or are in the process of making the relevant investments and incentives to position themselves for the future expansion of their tourism industry. With up to 25% of the Cayman Islands GDP derived from tourism, managing capacity and capability and competitiveness of our airports is a strategic imperative that the Cayman Islands cannot ignore. In the case of the Owen Roberts International Airport, there are no air traffic management surveillance systems in place, which means air traffic is being controlled manually. Managing air traffic in this way is not only outdated, but it reduces efficiencies and increasing the level of safety risk. This is a key area of concern for myself as minister and for the Airports Authority, and it is a safety issue that needs to be addressed as a matter of priority. Over in Cayman Brac, the Charles Colonel International Airport is currently operating under an exemption to the airport's regulatory standard due to the inefficient length and strength of the runway and safety area, better known as RISA. This is another area of concern that also has been that will also be rectified as a matter of priority. In addition to those important safety and regulatory matters, the ministry also has to be mindful that the government has outlined in its strategic policy statement the need to attract high net worth individuals to vacation in our islands. This objective has been recognized and is included in the government's policy year after year. And yet, the current general aviation facility, which caters to private jets and high net worth individuals, is outdated, of low quality, and is a poor representation of the Cayman Islands luxury brand perspective that we display. As the minister with responsibility for tourism, I'm keen for this anomaly to finally be addressed. The benefits to be derived from each of the approved projects extend beyond the airport and its immediate operations. The tourism industry is a major contributor to our island's economy, and extending the runway will provide the ability to service long-haul carriers, bringing travelers directly to our shores from countries not have been able to develop relationships with before. So ultimately, we'll be able to expand into new routes. If we are serious about growing tourism and if we are serious about growing our tourism product, and we are committed to expanding into secondary markets, not only do we need to be connected to those markets, but we also need to be better connected than our competition in respect to those markets. From a regional perspective, these enhancements, coupled with our national airline, will place our islands in a stronger position to take the lead in the regional connectivity efforts. This will boost our ability to negotiate with other territories and explore opportunities to service regional markets underpinned by profitable revenue guarantees. As the Minister for Tourism, I can confidently assure this country that creating the right conditions for success and sustainable future for our tourism industry is an important priority for this government, and this is why we are committed to investing in our tourism infrastructures. The Cayman Islands is recognized as one of the most successful, advanced, and sophisticated destinations in the Caribbean and in the world, and all travelers have the right to expect quality, service, and a safe and comfortable and convenient travel experience when they come to the Cayman Islands. I've invited the chairman and the CEO from the Cayman Islands Airports Authority and the Director of Tourism to join me on the panel to explain more about the impacts and the benefits of these projects as it relates to the specific areas. Before handing over the panel, I'd like to recognize and express my sincere thanks to my Chief Officer, Mr. Strand Borden, and the Board of Directors and the management of the Cayman Islands Airports Authority for their stellar oversight and contribution to the delivery of this master plan that will continue to guide the development of our island's airports for the next 20 years. Thank you, Donna.
All right, thank you very much, Minister Bryan. We will now hear from the CIAA Board Chairman, Mr. Johan Moxham.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation. Just want to say on behalf of the Board of Directors that we are proud to support the vision and the initiatives of Minister Bryan and the Ministry of Tourism. As the chairman, I see how closely the Chief Officer, Strand Borden, Director of Tourism, Rosa Harris, and our CEO, Mr. Albert Anderson, work together to actually put together a comprehensive plan that supports the strategic vision of the Minister and the Ministry of Tourism. I don't come from an aviation background at all, but to see a team come together, figure out the way forward, understanding what the objectives are from the outset, and to then go about putting that into action, something that I'm proud, and I want to thank all the participants, especially our CEO, Albert Anderson, fantastic man, great leader, respected by all, and able to navigate the moving parts that come along with a high profile and high pressure job like that. The Minister and the Chief Officer have been nothing short of brilliant, clear, and have always communicated to us what their expectations are and the plans that they have going forward. That's always in conjunction with Ms. Rosa and her amazing team at DOT. So for me, I just get to sit in my chair, make sure that from a compliance and regulatory standpoint, we are always aligned and moving forward, doing things the right way. We're open, we're transparent. We have an amazing board of some experienced people. I want to acknowledge our deputy, Marva Reed Bodden, Miss Jacqueline Haynes, Mr. Alfred Thompson, board member, Mr. Nat Tibbetts, board member, Mr. Roy Grant, board member, Mr. Jonathan Eady. None of us have operated, except for Miss Marva, who has over 30 years experience in the aviation airline business, where we, I think, lend our expertise is just from an objective governance standpoint, where we try to understand what are the rules, what are the objectives, where will we not compromise? We do not compromise at all, as the minister rightfully said, on any safety and security matters. We understand what comes with that. We are guided and work in tandem with our CEO. So for us, it's really a understand the rules of engagement, and just move forward in meeting the objectives stage by stage. This is a part of it. This is not fixed in stone yet. The proposed project is ambitious, but we know that the team that we have working on it, and I also want to acknowledge Mr. Roy Williams, who's the project manager seconded to CIAA, for all of his hard work, the man hours, and his dedication to observe Mr. Roy, Mr. Albert, and the rest of the team, put it all together, deal with the consultants, ensure that the minister is briefed, and liaise also with DOT. It's truly a team effort, but I just want to say that I'm proud to be a part of that, and proud to be the chairman of a fantastic group of individuals that represent the board of directors.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moxon. We now turn to Mr. Albert Anderson, the CEO of CIAA.
Thank you, Donna. And I also would like to thank the Minister for including us in this discussion. The whole discussion on master plans probably started back in around 2019, but of course, when COVID came along, it was put on the shelf for a while, and then we got going again late 2021, early 2022. The master plan objective was to be unconstrained. In other words, let's look at what we need to make the airports in Cayman whole, to make them functional, and to deliver the quality of service that we need to deliver in the Cayman Islands. So there was no cap on what they should look at. There was no cap on anything. It's just unconstrained, tell us what is needed. And we have a fantastic document that has delivered just that. This is what we need over the next 20 years in order for these airports to function the way we want them to function. I'll focus on the 4 projects that have been approved. And I'll start with air traffic management, which is probably for me a key priority in terms of safety, which is the main objective of the airport, to ensure safe passage of passengers into and out of the Cayman Islands. So in 2019, the Owen Roberts International Airport managed some 26,000 air traffic movements. This is planes taking off or landing, and that commercial or general aviation. And this is expected to grow by about 1% to 2% per annum going forward. In the past, or even today, this traffic is managed by some very skilled air traffic controllers that we have, and they use a manual method called procedural control. From an air safety perspective, we've now reached a point where modern surveillance systems are necessary, and this project, therefore, is a top priority. It will utilize an automatic dependent surveillance broadcast, or ADSB system, as well as radar, and will enable air traffic controllers to depend on more precision in the location of aircraft, thus providing for less separation between aircraft and improved operational safety and efficiency. The other important project for us is the Charles Kirkconnell International Airport from a safety perspective. As Minister mentioned, we have an exemption now on some of the issues that exist with the runway and the airfield at Charles Kirkconnell International. And so, so we need to get that work done in order to fully comply with regulatory safety requirements. This would involve building fully compliant RISAs at both ends of the runway and creating a compliant strip or a safety area along the south side of the runway. From an aerodrome safety perspective, this is absolutely necessary. General aviation, as the minister discussed, the general aviation facility is key to improving the image of the country and the airport to our high net worth customers. The location will be at the east end of Owen Roberts International Airport by the sea and will provide for a more aesthetically pleasing experience for GA travelers, a larger space for general aviation aircraft parking, and availability of hangar space for those who require it. The additional aircraft ramp space is important from a safety perspective and also from a customer service perspective, as currently during peak times, we have to limit how long an aircraft can remain parked on the ramp due to space restrictions. The proposed runway extension into the North Sound will enable more long-haul flights to fly directly into and out of Grand Cayman. The Director of Tourism can speak to the benefits this brings to the Cayman Islands tourism product, but from an airport perspective, this will also help to fill the low traffic periods at Oriya and will not impact the terminal capacity during peak periods. The proposed extension will take the runway pavement some 1,900 feet into the North Sound, providing for an additional 1,115 feet of usable runway and the required 787-foot runway end safety area on each end. The effort that has gone into delivering the overall master plan and focusing in on these particular 4 projects has been massive, and the chairman spoke to the team that made that happen. I want to thank the board for being supportive of the effort over this period of time and supportive in general to what we're doing at the Airports Authority, and also the ministry who have been there behind us all the way. And of course, the chairman also mentioned the project manager, Roy, who was instrumental in delivering the master plan in a timely manner. And now we have a document that we can work with to take us into the future. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anderson. We'll now go to the Director of the Department of Tourism, Mrs. Rosa Harris.
Thank you and good afternoon. The Cayman Islands Department of Tourism is pleased that the provisions are being made to provide the destination with an upgraded general aviation terminal and is in full support of the decision to boost our island's airport infrastructure. My team travels the world and we meet with many airlines, and this particular project is going to open up many opportunities for us to be able to increase our business development. The Cayman Islands are recognized and marketed as a top-tier destination, synonymous with quality, style, and luxury. A new facility will enable an elevated arrival experience. And these travelers that use the general aviation terminal expect their expectations to be anticipated before they even say it. So we have high expectations, Mr. Anderson, on this facility to be able to process our guests more efficiently. Given that the traveler's first and last impression of the Cayman Islands is influenced by the airport experience, our islands require the general aviation facility to be consistent of sophisticated luxury. The brand positioning that many of our repeat travelers know and love about the Cayman Islands. So these services and amenities are very much anticipated and expected by affluent travelers. A travel experience that solidifies warm and lasting memories of a wonderful Cayman Islands experience deserves a solid yet traveler-focused airport experience to commemorate the time that they spent with us here. DOT is cognizant of the level of air traffic that arrives into the destination, particularly over the holidays. We can count all of the jets that are lined off on any particular period during the holidays. And given that the tourism industry's strong recovery and future projections for growth in our forecasts, the focus on the GA terminal is critical and necessary to bring the Cayman Islands on par with other destinations that have similar travelers. Having the ability to support expanded services on the ground through the GA facility will place DOT in a better position to engage with private jet providers in a more meaningful way. My team and I are very excited to be able to include these plans and renderings of the general aviation terminal in our business development presentations. We talk with the trade, with the media, and airline partners on a daily basis. So this announcement today is putting certainly a lot more tools in our kit to be able to talk about the destination. Moving now onto the runway extension. The runway extension is a highly anticipated addition, and the minister and I have had many discussions about the runway extension and how this particular element of the project will open doors. Right now, we have a one-stop service from London Heathrow on British Airways. But we've spoken with many airlines from many other European countries who would love to fly into Cayman, but just need a little bit more runway to be able to do that. And I can talk about block hours and how long it takes to get here from many different places, Helsinki and, France and Germany, but we just need a little bit more runway. So this particular pursuit is very exciting for the Department of Tourism to be your strategic partner in its pursuit. Touching on aviation in general, we meet with the airlines 3 times a year, along with the CIAA team. We attend the Roots Conference. One is in the Americas, somewhere in our side of the world, Europe, and also Asia. These meetings allow us to talk about the capacity that comes into the destination. So there's a lot of work that we do that you see online in magazines, but these business to business sit downs at conferences that talk about how many room nights we have, what's coming online, how is the destination doing, what businesses are domiciled in Cayman to make a strong business proposition is critical to ensuring that we show how strong of an economic activity we have here in Cayman that makes the business case for the Cayman Islands. Larger aircraft landing in Grand Cayman, carrying more passengers and cargo would benefit service providers, taxis, tour operators, local businesses to bring in more goods, our accommodation partners. It just means more when it comes to taking home and providing for families, and also job creation. More passengers in a sustainable way. Obviously, we don't want everybody all at the same time. It also allows us to have more fuller utilization of our airport over a 24-hour period, not everyone coming in at the same time. All of these factors truly line up the justification and the business case for this particular project. I can talk about many things, and I know the minister covered some aspects of competitiveness in the region, but flattening of seasonality. We know that December through April is our peak period, but with long haul carriers being able to come from Europe or South America also allows us to draw in people that wouldn't necessarily visit in times that we need more, and that's summer and fall. So again, the proposition there is exciting for us to be able to grow the tourism industry. Also, we have so many people here from all over the world. We want you to be able to invite your friends and your family and come to Cayman in an efficient way. And we know now that a lot of people have to connect in many places before they get to Cayman because they live in farther afield places. And this particular runway extension would allow us to open up more markets, therefore reducing the number of times a traveler has to connect to arrive in the Cayman Islands. So as a strategic partner, the Cayman Islands Airport Authority, and our supporting actor role in our Ministry of Tourism on this exciting project, it is our pleasure to be a part of the Airport Master Planning Committee and work with Mr. Williams and Mr. Anderson and support the various phases of this well-anticipated project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Harris. We will now take questions from members of the media, beginning with Norma from Compass Media.
Just quickly, the 280-page document that you're based on, is that going to be made available publicly?
I just want to double check before I answer. Is the CEO can be heard via the? Can he respond via the online?
Yes. Once. Yeah. Yes.
Yes. I just want to confirm that. Mr. Chairman, would like to address the question in respect to availability of the report.
As we went through the sort of putting this entire process together, there was a lot of public consultation, multiple meetings in all 3 islands, meetings with stakeholders and persons that utilize the CIA regulated sort of property, so on and so forth. We have no objections at this stage. We've been transparent all the way through the process. There's no reason to believe that we would not be sharing the final outline business case with the general public, because it's what we've been doing from the outset.
CEO, you want to add anything to that, or?
Just to say that the last master plan we did was a public document, so I assume this one will be as well.
Okay, so when can we expect to see that?
I will ensure that my team within the ministry gets it to the media.
Very kind, thank you. Okay, so we're talking about expanding the runway almost 2,000 feet into the North Sound. This obviously is going to have some major environmental impacts. I'm assuming there's going to be an environmental impact assessment on that part of the project and possibly more parts of the project as well.
Correct, and I would like to take this opportunity just to give the sensitivities around that area, Mr. Roy, to ask him to come and give a little further in-depth analysis on what happens in that respect from the public consultation to the EIA process. So Roy, he's the head honcho in respect to
head honcho. Yes, good afternoon. We don't know what the impacts are for a runway expansion at the moment, extension, but we do know in 2008, Jacobs did a master plan, and the effect of any impacts out there is basically related to seagrass only. But that said, we will be doing an EIA. In fact, an application for a scoping has been put forward to DOE. That went out on the 5th of May. As soon as we get the scoping from the Environmental Assessment Board, an RFP will go out to get an environmental consultant, and then we'll go from there. And then we'll get the true impacts of that extension. Okay.
Okay. Obviously, that's going to have a knock-on effect on the timeline that you guys are anticipating for this build. Any insights into that? How long that might take?
Well, obviously, we would like to get it done as quickly as possible, but the environment is very important. And in every aspect of any project the government does, as long as it's fair and balanced. One of the things that Mr. Roy just highlighted for us to understand is that previous experiences have shown that the probabilities of the severity of the environmental impact may be minimal. We don't know that until it starts, but they will put an estimated time on how long that EIA will take, and it's already been factored in the timeline. Now, that can go off a little bit, or it could be shortened depending on what they assess, but we have factored that in our development.
Okay. For the overall timelines, I know you said it's going to be a multi-year project going to 2029, I think you said, of the 4 elements. Do you have a breakdown of what that will consist of?
Roy, you want to?
Yeah, so the EIA, which is the key to all of this, we don't, as Mr. Bryan said, that we don't know how long that's take, but I've estimated 12 months to go through that process. So we then need to go through, obviously, the design process for the design of the runway extension. And then, of course, we get into the construction process, and, of course, the procurement to that can take months. So our estimate is that we would probably break ground sometime in around about, I believe it's mid-2025.
Okay. And are all the projects being done in tandem, or will be the runway expansion first, then the terminal, then the control tower, or is there, sequence of events for that yet
The
available?
projects are all being worked in tandem. As I said earlier, the priority for us from a safety perspective is the air traffic management. That's absolutely critical. So that will kick off as soon as possible. But the EIAs will begin on the runway extension. EIAs for the work we have to do in Cayman Brat may also require a EIA. So all those will kick off at the same time, and then we'll roll into a defined timeline once we know the results of the EIAs.
Okay, thank you. And also during the consultation period at a number of the meetings, the consultants talked about a priority should also be given to Little Cayman because there's obviously issues there regarding the regulations and then meeting the required international standards. That's not among the four that you mentioned today. Can you give us an update on anything that's happening with Little Cayman?
Yes. Unfortunately, it's not a part of the four today because of our financial position that we're in. And the government does recognize the difficulties with Little Cayman, but it's a very sensitive one because of how we go about any changes in Little Cayman. The people are adamant that they don't want it to be overdeveloped or any major changes to the way of life. But then that conflicts with our security requirements necessary for the airport. We are operating currently under a exemption from CAAA. The government has given commitment to investigating a new location for the airport and environmental impacts assessments for a larger piece of property to the east of the current location that has been identified in past administrations. And in the next budget, we'll put the necessary monies available for the authority to start those environmental impact assessments. And with that commitment, the Cayman Islands Airports Authority has given us the assurance to continue with this exemption, because without a commitment to resolving the problems, they can no longer continue the exemptions. So that's the course of action. What has been suggested, and once you see the master plan, you'll see that some of the recommendations for the airport could be rather extensive and a costly exercise. And that new facility in Little Cayman will never be able to recoup the cost because there's just not enough traffic that goes there for a brand new one. But from a regulatory perspective, I don't think we can get around those components. But what we're doing is assessing it by the way of an environmental impact assessment and then go into development stages in conjunction with consultation with the good people of Little Cayman to make sure that their lives are not disrupted in any way.
So it's not part of this specific master plan, it will be separate?
It is a part of the overall 20-year advice of a master plan, but the projects that we've decided to do based on our financial position is not a part of that.
Okay. Fair enough. And just finally, before I hand over to my colleagues, do we have any information on what the airport the increases in the airport fees are going to be to help pay for this whole project?
Yes, I did say it in my delivery, is a $5 passenger fee and a $15 development fee. I think it's construction fee or airport development fee. Albert, you can chime in.
Yeah, so both of those fees are passenger fees. So per passenger, it'll be 15 and 5, as the minister said. Those have to go through a process for them to be included in the ticket price, which it'll probably take about 6 months.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Roy.
Thank you very much, Ms. Norma. I'd like to now call on Wendy from Cayman News Service.
I just want to say, while we're waiting for Ms. Wendy to come up, I really appreciate our international media who are zooming in, and I'll try to see if we can go to them first, maybe give them that privilege of being with us for the first time. And I think that we've had international reporters tuning into our live press briefing, so I welcome them. Wendy?
Thank you. I've got quite a lot, so I might have to just go with the main ones. Okay, the runway, is that set in stone? Are we doing it?
Yes, we are.
Oh, dear. The environmental impact assessment, will that be paid for out of the Environmental Protection Fund, or has the airport got another plan on how it's going to pay for that?
I will cease to Albert, but I don't think We're going to be touching on the other fund. The modeling that we have has considered the cost with the EIA, right?
Yeah, so the funding that the airport will develop over the years will pay for the EIA.
So it's, I'm asking because it's the first thing. So it's going to be the first thing that's getting paid for. So have you got money in your budget for that?
Yes.
Okay, that's coming out of the airport.
Do you think you should take it out of the environmental fund? I mean, we can do that if you think it's right.
Do it. But anyway, the runway lights. Can you explain to us what planes will use this longer runway, and how that will fit in with your passenger projections over the coming years, and how that's all going to fit in with our sustainability plan that we're about, or the climate change plan that we're about to get, because we're going to be increasing noise, jet fuel, all sorts of other emissions, more traffic. $42 million on a terminal for rich people. How will that benefit Caymanians? I'm just trying to see where this expansion of our airport fits in with sustainable development. Miss Rosa talked about sustainable passenger. Okay, so they come in, they're in and out the airport 15 minutes instead of 20 or whatever, because I don't think people spend a lot of time in the aviation. Explain to us how it is going to be sustainable. I don't see anything sustainable about it.
Well, Wendy, thank you so much for that question, which I suspected it would come. But I think just previously, and I'm gonna ask Mr. Albert to answer your first part of your question about what kind of planes we can get, and then ask the Director Rosa to elaborate on what the benefits of those types of planes from what jurisdictions. Because I think she did a great job delivering it. Maybe you didn't hear it before, but in respect to sustainability also has to do with things outside of the environment. It's about the ability for Caymanians to continue to provide for their families, to have jobs. We have two major pillars in our economy, that is financial services and tourism. Tourism is the only one that has a level of security, because at any point financial services can disappear because it's an operation of administration, legislation and practices. Tourism is the Caymanian people and the Caymanian environment. So from when you say, how is it involved in our sustainable policy, is to ensure that Caymanians continue to have an opportunity to ensure that businesses who have invested, that are Caymanian, in the tourism product will continue to have the opportunity to make money and create jobs for Caymanians, even though we recognize that there's outside labor that helps us with the delivery of our tourism product. So the overall sustainability and climate change policy, in my humble opinion, though it is very, very important, should not stop the opportunity of Caymanians being able to provide for their loved ones and themselves. And I don't think that that is the intention at all. I think it's there to support the development and continued opportunities that we currently provide. There's nothing wrong with improving our product by way of our tourism industry and our offerings. We've always been a leader in respect to our quality of service, and this is just one example of us doing that. So with that being said, if you want to chime in a little bit further, and I'd be happy to, but I'll try to ask Mr. Albert to answer the first part about what the capabilities of different types of planes that will be able to land as a result of the extension.
So the extension will allow what would be called Code E aircraft. So 777, 787, A350 Airbus 350s, that type of aircraft would be able to land and take off at Owen Roberts with a full load. So today we have a 777. It flies, when it leaves here, it stops in Nassau. It doesn't leave fully loaded. It doesn't arrive fully loaded. This will allow a fully loaded, fully fueled Code E aircraft to depart and land at Owen Roberts International Airport.
What airlines have already expressed an interest that want to bring these planes?
But we have British Airways today. Ms. Rosa might like to speak to
I'll allow them to answer the first question, and then we can answer the second one. So you gave an example of some of the types of planes. Director, you want to give some examples of interest?
Sure. I'd like to go back to the sustainability question if I could, because when you look at the definition of sustainability, it's about economic, environmental, cultural, social. So it's about balance. some people think or interpret it as being acceptable, viable, and responsible. So we're focusing on one element, yes, on the environment, because we're proposing to go into the North Sound. And your question was, how will, actually back to the GA comment, how will a facility that costs so much benefit the people of the Cayman Islands? Well, if you have higher net worth persons coming in, renting out 7 South, that goes for much higher prices in a regular hotel room, you've got more economic injection in the economy. You've got more people working in hotel rooms to clean that suite. You've got more services that are needed to serve people that are staying in larger accommodations, because they're coming in on their own aircraft, usually with family or in larger groups, whilst we get couples as well as our mainstay. So the knock-on effect for the transport that's needed to take them to their hotel, the persons needed to serve them.
So you're describing trickle down, in other words.
That's exactly it. But also from the sustainability side, if you do not consider the environmental, the economic, the social, meaning the people, you won't get the balance in sustainability. Sustainability
Where's
is
the balance if the number of people and the pressure on the infrastructure, the need for more hotel rooms, the need for more development? So where's the balance? I'm not seeing any balance. Seeing plenty of economic sustainability. I'm not seeing much environmental sustainability.
Well, Wendy, as you would know, we're going through that exercise of that balance, and what the island can handle and what it can't handle. We would accept that the one side of the island is a bit tensed and under pressure, the western side of the island. But the amazing people of the eastern districts deserve the opportunity for some of these benefits. And the government's collaborative plan of action by the East-West Arterial, by the extension of the airport, by utilizing all the time period of the airport is going to be helpful. You see, the one notion of seasonality will have no effect on the strain on our current layout of our environment. What I mean by that is we have high peaks where we're handling it quite well, but we have slow peaks. This extension of the airport strip will allow us to flatten that out and have a consistent income for our people. And that's the main focus. But while we are talking about our growth and what is sustainable in respect to the country, at least the door will be open if we want to grow and how much we want to grow by. It's best to have the option to choose to grow to that level than not have the option and you want to do it. And I think right now, the key part that should be focused on is the opportunity to fill the gaps in seasonality when a Caymanian is working in the hotel industry and their salary goes down to $6 because there's nobody in the hotel rooms. What that airport extension can do is allow us to tap into markets that would love to fly to the Cayman Islands in slow season and use our airport even in off-peak hours. So for instance, you can have a red-eye flight coming from Amsterdam that lands at our airport at 9 o'clock. You can have one coming from Africa that can land at 7:30. So and I wish I'd created this diagram because it's so easier for people to understand. But during the day of a period of time when we're open at the airport, at the earlier part, there's not many flights coming in. And eventually we go up and we peak during the day and then we come back down. So what happens is at the very start of the day and at the end of the day, there's this gap where the airport is not being used. That means there's loss of economic opportunity, not only for the airport's revenue, but also for the Caymanian people. We believe that the airport extension allows us to fill those gaps there.
And we've done the research about this, that we know that there are airlines and places and destinations that you're going to be able to do this with.
Yes, ma'am.
We've done that research.
Yes, ma'am.
So if I could add, my team meets with airlines, and over the past 3 years, we've had proposals from Eurowings, Norse, Virgin, and we got down the road with Eurowings, but then it fell off because of the length of the runway, and the same for Virgin.
like upon that.
And we don't want to take away those opportunities for Caymanians. I think
Do
that
we have a figure in this plan about the type of foot traffic that you would expect, say, by in 5 years from now, 2028? What's in the plan in terms of foot traffic? How many people do we see coming as tourists?
This plan estimates that we'll increase by 1.9% per annum.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do we have, Ms. Rosa, do we match with rooms? Because a lot of the hotels that are under development at the moment seem to have slowed down, and there's been, like, certainly with Pageant Beach and the Hyatt there, and those hotels.
Well, actually haven't slowed down at all. Some of them have
slowed
gone
down.
through periods of trying to balance the cost of materials and the current global environment.
Yeah,
but
we know,
the good
we know the
news
reason why.
that
So
they're
the point is, it's slowed things down. So it's another couple of years now before any.
not particularly. I think that the rate of growth that he has just suggested of 1.9 works perfectly with what we know now to be online. Next year, we're going to have the great opportunity to be welcoming a new set of beds with the Hotel Indigo. And then subsequently after that, we're going to have another series of hotels and condos open. So, and then you also have the more flexible industry, which is what is it called?
Airbnb.
Airbnb. Thank you so much. The Airbnb market that allows us that once whatever the rate is of traffic, we can accommodate. And those Airbnb markets create a lot of opportunity for Caymanians who have an apartment or an investment or a second home for them to make money. This
It's
is
also
all about
contributed
one
to the
side of
problem that
money.
you were saying the other day about housing.
Yeah.
Airbnb takes away from the regular rental market enormously. It's really significant in West Bay. It's
Hence
very
the reason why when we support a hotel, you should not probably say we shouldn't do it, because we're trying to balance the housing market. But when we ask for a hotel to be built, then you say, don't build it because it's not sustainable. So we can't have a cake and eat it too. So if we say, okay, we're not going to build a hotel, let's give this business opportunity to Caymanians who have a second home or a third home or apartment, you say now is stressing the housing market. The end of the day, it's government's job to ensure economic opportunity for our people. And the second major pillar in our country is tourism. And we're going to be committed to that.
If I could give some statistics on accommodations, just to paint the picture of the health of the room stock. When we locked down in 2020, we were at 7,021 rooms. And currently we're at 7,484. So whilst we saw properties come out of the pool because maybe they were sold during the lockdown period, we had properties come online. So we've had no attrition during COVID. Pre-COVID, our average occupancy year-round was 72% on average. So there's still healthy room for growth. Last year was our rebound year, so our occupancy was much lower.
Some redundancy first.
Yeah, we do have room for growth and to spread our visitors out. We have 3 islands. There's a lot more economic benefit that can be had amongst all 3 islands.
Sorry, Ms. Ledge, just wanted to add to that. Mr. Roy, can I invite you to the podium? Just back to your first question about the EIA. We're really conscious that we're going to follow the rules as is. The directive is, or the vision is that we go ahead with the project, but the proposed project has an EIA element that is imperative. Now, it's important that you understand, and that's why we got the project manager here. We've been in consultation with the Department of Environment from the very beginning of this exercise, and I'll ask Mr. Roy to just brief you accordingly on the engagement with DOE and how the EIA will guide the process from there, please.
Yes, so how we started off with the master plan, we interviewed over 51 stakeholders, of which one of those was the DOE. We wanted to know what their thoughts and impression of a master plan would be. And once we started the master planning process, which was in around about June 2022, the DOE were actively involved. We met, I think, for about 5 times. So our goal is to have the DOE along on this journey through the EIA process. We hope to have an environmental consultant on board that will one catches all type thing. So for all the projects that need an EIA, then we'll do it all under one environmental consultant. And of course, the EAB, which the DOE is a component of, will be active in choosing that consultant, the one that we actually move forward with. So I think that explains.
What about the
Do we know the area of mangrove that will be lost at this point?
There's no mangroves to be
At
lost.
the end, isn't there some around there at the end?
I think she's talking about a brown field area, and I think you should expand on that so she knows.
Right. Okay. So the mangroves, the coastal mangroves, are not going to be touched. In fact, we went to lengths to make sure that we never touched any of those coastal mangroves. When we extend into the North Sound, there is thoughts, and again, this is all. We won't know until the EIA is finished, but the idea is to surround the runway extension. I believe there's a picture here somewhere where we show planted mangroves north and south of the actual runway extension. But somebody has told me that in the past there hasn't been much success with planting mangroves. Don't know. So so we're not touching mangroves at this point. And this was a direct result of talking with the DOE over the last 6 months, or I should say 9 months now.
Thank you, Roy.
Can I just check on the finances before I go? Obviously, there were a lot of issues with the last project and a lot of criticism from the Auditor General about what had gone wrong, and in particularly the finger was pointed, I think even yourself had said it was down to the consultant. So what especially this is a question for Mr. Johan about, as the board, you'll be supervising all of this expenditure. How confident can we, as the taxpayers of the country, be that this time there won't be the same kind of mistakes, the same kind of overruns, the same kind of weaknesses in the process, and that there will be, we can watch how much you're spending closely?
I definitely want the chairman to respond to this, because he is the exact reason why he's the chairman. I don't think you know Mr. Johan Markson well, but I can promise you under his watch there'll be no overspending, and that's why I picked him to be the chairman. So, Mr. Chairman, you can add to that.
Thank you for that ringing endorsement. Ms. Wendy, first thing we did upon being appointed was sit down and have a really candid conversation on our remit is to learn the lessons from the previous administration and the previous boards, and we will not be making those sort of mistakes. The CEO, Mr. Roy, and everyone else has put together a really detailed binder and a deep dive into all of the things that happened under the last redevelopment exercise and the lessons learned. I'm quite sure, with the permission of the ministry, perhaps we could share that with the media, but that's to be determined. But it's a significant piece of work whereby I'm really conservative. The board is made up of some really quality, experienced people. We have Mr. Al Thompson on board. There's no question that goes unasked, and we basically don't come off until the questions have been satisfactorily answered. What I can commit is, given the fact that we have the expertise of Mr. Roy, the lessons learned, and a quality leader in the form of Mr. Albert Anderson as our CEO, I would put my neck on a chopping block and to say we will not make the same mistakes of the previous administration and the previous board, because we're a lot more conservative in nature. We're driven, and truth be told, we don't want the sort of stigma to follow us in the way that it's followed the previous sort of administration, the boards. There's nobody on our board that has a pecuniary interest in any operations at the airport. There are no conflicts. No decisions that are made effectively benefit anybody on our current board of directors. And that's something that history will show could not be said under the previous administration. Be that as it may, I can commit on behalf of our board of directors and the management of CIAA, we will not have a repeat of the sort of follies and mistakes. We don't have the same set of consultants. We're looking at this with a fresh set of eyes, and we've got a dedicated resource in the form of Mr. Roy Williams to show you how serious we take this responsibility. Mr. Roy briefs the CEO twice a month on all aspects of these sort of projects. In turn, I have meetings with the CEO myself separately, and basically there's 6 sets of eyes looking at this. Yes, the CEO is responsible for the operational things, but there's nobody more focused on management of the project, management of the finances. We're blessed to have an incredible CFO in the form of Ms. Karen Baptiste. The team is really solid from top to bottom, and I'm confident that we will not fall into the same traps of our predecessors.
When I can also add.
Can I just ask the final question, which is, do we have a final figure yet?
Second final question.
Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
No, this is the final subject.
Sorry.
Final subject is the finance. This is the final question on the subject.
Okay, good. Sorry, what was the question?
Which is, do we have a final figure for the last part of the project that we've just pretty much finished now?
The last terminal project, airport terminal
like the work
expansion.
that was done, everything that was done, including the thing. I don't know what to call it.
The runway work.
The planes fighting or whatever they do.
And all this, I was just going to say before I answer your question that the document that Chairman was referring to was presented to Public Accounts Committee, and the Airports Authority was commended on the quality of that presentation. I don't know if the fact that it went to Public Accounts Committee means that it's a public document. I'll leave that to.
Should be.
So you should be able to see it. So as far as the cost of there was 2 projects we did. One was the terminal expansion, and one was the airfield upgrade.
Yep.
The terminal expansion was the initial cost was estimated to be 55 million. It ended up at 74 million.
It was 74. Yeah, we've had that figure before, so that didn't go anymore. But what about the outside bit?
The outside bit, help me here, it was 40.
We're talking about the
42
airfield
million,
upgrades.
the airfield upgrades.
Yeah, it was a $45 million project, came in at 42.5.
So that one came in under budget.
I just think it's important that I know that the last administration has gotten some bad marks for what is perceived to be one of overspending. After coming in and analyzing what the change in the costs were associated with, it is reasonable to understand and see where, while they were learning and seeing what was happening, that the government can add to those things to say, okay, we recognize that we wanted to add some more things to this project and then update the price. So when somebody starts with the first price, everybody holds them to that. But if the project can be amended and improved or decreased even, it could go, the numbers can go the opposite way. So rather than it be seen as an overspend, I think what it should be determined as is an adjustment to the previous project. And I think that would be a fair assessment, Mr. Albert.
Yeah, a big part of it was adjustments that were made because there were additional things we wanted to do and we had the funding to do it. So we got the board approval to proceed.
But you yourself said there were, in 2021,
So
you yourself said that there were some significant problems.
There was some problems, as I said, a big part of it was that, but there was also a part where we had some issues with the consultants that increased the time and therefore increased the cost. So and all that is in the documents that went to public.
And I will ensure that you get it, Wendy, and thank you so much for your list of questions. I do recognize that we have some international reporters online who are waiting for questions.
Behind me as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Wendy, we do have a question from Mr. Ernie Sion from the Caribbean Media Corporation for the panel.
Yes, good afternoon. Mr. Minister, I think this one might be your direction. As the CTO chairman, you will be aware that the Caribbean is facing a major problem with regional connectivity. The Cayman Islands is one of the few in the region with its own national airline and I dare say a well-developed airport infrastructure. Do you think the Cayman Islands, perhaps with the support of the UK government, can play a role in facilitating regional connectivity? And what might that look like? Any ideas, sir?
First off, thank you so much for being a part of our press conference. It's a pleasure to have international media focusing on the Cayman Islands. Yes, that is a possibility that we could go down that road, but it takes a lot of moving parts. In my capacity as the chairman of the CTO, Caribbean Tourism Organization, discussions about making sure that we are being able to survive in the tourism product due to transportation and to and from each island has been a high topic. And Cayman has been blessed based on our financial management over the decades to be able to afford to subsidize our own national airline. And as a member of the overseas territories, we are committed to making sure that we are committed, just like the minister for the overseas territories have said, we are a part of a UK family. Whatever we can do to assist that does not negatively affect the people of the country of the Cayman Islands from a financial perspective, we're willing to facilitate. To be honest with you, I've recently referred to a debate in Parliament when the GMC happened just 2 weeks ago. Much of the discussion was about assisting Caribbean overseas territories with infrastructure needs, whether it would be roads or airports, to make sure that they're able to provide a strong industry for the country. As you heard in my first opening remarks, we have a master plan for 20 years, but we're only able to do 4 components of a very large plan that is actually estimated to be over $800 million. Now, if we were in a financial position to do the whole plan, I think we could be well suited from a geographical perspective, as well as our own national airline, to potentially help other jurisdictions in respect to the air connectivity, as long as things like revenue guarantees were in consideration. The Cayman Islands have been a leader within the region from an overseas territory perspective for decades now. We are always looked to from a financial services perspective, from a security perspective. We assist our overseas territories with aircraft or helicopters when there are security issues. During the COVID pandemic, we assisted our brothers and sisters in respect to vaccines and so forth. And we're proudful of that leadership role that we play within the Caribbean, but particularly with the overseas territories. Now, if the United Kingdom or the FCDO would want to partner with the Cayman Islands to help us with this airport development so we can get it on track earlier, so we can continue to be the regional leader to support our brothers and sisters, I would embrace it. I would welcome it. But at this particular point, the Cayman Islands government is not in a position to finance the development that we want to do. And it would take the UK office to either give support by way of allowing us to have a further debt service ratio within our country's finances, or to help to give the necessary borrowings, permissions to the airport, because we believe that there's a financing model where they can get the revenues themselves. It's just we need that security, and we have to operate within the framework for fiscal responsibility. So that's where we were limited at. But if we were to get to that point with our airport and our success with our national airline, we'd be happy to assist our regional brothers and sisters in this very important product called tourism. Because when other Caribbean islands do well with tourism, it continues to keep the attraction from a tourism perspective on this region. So you can't think about the Caribbean without thinking about the Cayman Islands. So if any other Caribbean islands is marketing the Caribbean, we get the benefit as well. So there's that attitude of when tide rises, all boats rise. So to answer your question, it's really for the UK to work with us to see if we can be our continued regional leader in supporting our brothers and sisters, particularly that of the overseas territories, because that's the common UK family approach. April, or was there another question? My apologies. Was there another question by our foreign press?
You just as a follow-up, you just mentioned the UK. What contribution is the UK making, or anticipated contribution towards your own development, your own infrastructural development?
At this particular moment, they continue to give us support by being a part of the UK family and the stability of being a part of the British overseas territory. They don't financially support us because we are in a good place that we can do it for ourselves. And we pride ourselves as a nation to be able to do that. What I brought up about financial support was on the basis of the guarantees that we are not allowed to have at this particular point based on our debt service ratio. And we're allowed to only be able to borrow so much and have certain amount of reserves. And that's dictated by the Foreign Office. Now, if they were to, which I've heard indications in their parliament that they were willing to negotiate and sit down and discuss those, whether there's flexibility there. If they were willing to do that, that would help us. But we don't necessarily need the money. What we need is the flexibility to be allowed to do so by law. I'm not sure if you are familiar with the act that we are obligated to operate out of in respect to the framework for fiscal responsibility. Some other jurisdictions are not obligated to that. Some other jurisdictions have different debt service ratios allowed to them. And I think it's time for us to have that discussion, because if we had more flexibility in our financing models, we could afford more major projects that we need for the continued success of our country. And I'm just glad to hear that the UK is actually thinking and talking about that and recognizing that. So maybe they should jump on board with us on this one.
Thanks for those responses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to April from Radio Cayman.
Thank you very much. So my questions are a little more local.
Okay.
So what we're talking about at $20 per more per ticket, essentially, is that about right?
Practically, yes.
Do we have any concerns that might have an impact on people's willingness to travel here, just in terms of cost?
Well, I'm not sure if anybody else on the panel want to contribute, but I think we analyzed that wouldn't take us out of the pricing market. We are from our location within the Caribbean, our tickets are still within the region of benefit, particularly when we have control of our own airline, unlike the other Caribbean islands, which is a bit further away. But Albert, you want to add?
Yeah, we did do a fairly detailed analysis of that versus our top 10 competitors, as according to the Department of Tourism. And with our old rates, without the increase, we were, I think, in the bottom 4 in terms of price. And by adding this, we came up a bit, but I think we're still in the bottom half.
Yeah.
So there's still room to grow if it were necessary.
Actually, they wanted me to increase it more than that. I was like, we can't. Not, particularly when my competitors in the region, I said, I want to make sure that our prices and our fees are just below them so I can have a competitive edge.
No, a fair point. I think the minister's covered off on it. We're cost conscious. What's important for us is to ensure that we don't have to go back to core government for borrowings. So if you want a new house or you want a new car, you have to borrow or buy. We felt that we could do this if we were given the ability to just increase our fees slightly, which still makes us extremely competitive in comparison to the other jurisdictions. From a price point, the $20 or $15 won't bankrupt anybody or prevent Caymanians from flying. That much I'm confident of.
Fair enough. Of course, this is a lot of money we're talking about overall. Is there a way to sort of quantify the cost of things versus what we'll be getting back? I mean, I know you had some percentages of growth, but I'm just trying to wrap my head around, we're investing this, here's what we expect back from it as an economy.
I don't think we've done that analysis, but it's one that should be done. And it's one of the unfortunate circumstances we have with the lack of tax structures that we have. So without no income tax structures, not that I want income tax, but it's hard for the data analysis to be drawn on the economic impact of tourism. Normally, most people think about, how much revenue directly from room tax we have received, and that's it. but don't think about the trickle-down effect, how much consumption in our duty goods that we collect. So to be honest with you, there's no way to give you that analysis outside of asking a specialist to put that together. And maybe that's good, so people can understand that what we are planning for just over 70 million, what we're going to get in return, not only right after the airport runway is completed, but in the long term is going to be, I'm safely going to say, within the hundreds of millions of dollars of economic benefit. But I can't give you a figure on that.
Fair enough.
In addition, sorry, April, just to add to the minister, we've taken a very conservative approach in our projections on footfall, number of people that'll be coming through. It's just the nature of the management team, the board. We want to under-promise and over-deliver, for the want of a better phrase. And so that's what guides us all the way through, in conjunction with detailed conversations with the minister, the chief officer, and Ms. Rosa and her team at DOT. That's led by our CEO, who's possibly more conservative than me. Can't believe that I said that, but there you go. That's how we come to these things.
And I got 2 messages while here. Don't forget to ask about jetways.
Okay.
Yeah, that would come.
Okay, I knew that. Yeah, definitely knew that was going to come. So jetways is a component of the bigger master plan. Again, we are doing the projects that we can afford at this particular point. And Project Manager Roy, if you come out, you could probably explain this a little bit better. But the reason for why we decided to go along with these 4 particular project areas are based on 2 points. The first, the 2 major ones, which is the general aviation and the airport expansion, or the airstrip extension, allows the country and the Airports Authority to be in a position to increase its revenue. The other 2, which is the surveillance and the RESA in Cayman BRAC, is compliance and regulatory adjustments to make sure that we're compliant. So we had to do those last 2, and the first 2 is on the basis of increasing revenue, so that we can later on be in a position to, so for example, when we extend the airstrip, we'll be able to have more planes coming in. Each passenger that comes off, the more money the Airports Authority will have. So your revenue body will increase, which then allows you to be in a financial position to go ahead and pay for the other things that is a part of this plan. Like, for instance, the jetways and the airport parking space, as well as the other things. Actually, Roy, I think it would be a good idea to give the listening audience an idea of what the other areas of this master plan highlight, as I was explaining in respect to having those other 2 projects done to increase the revenue so we can do those later on.
Yeah, so when you do see the master plan, you'll see a conceptual layout of the new terminal, or I should say the expanded terminal. That's a better way of putting it. And of course, with that are the jetways. We have a problem with mixing of passengers at the moment, arriving and departing passengers. That's something we've got to address from a security standpoint. That will be addressed in the new terminal. Security screening checkpoint and the check-in areas are reaching capacity. We're projecting, like Mr. Albert said, 1.9% growth year over year. So that's just going to get worse. So again, we just have a very basic plan at the moment for the terminal expansion, which will also expand to the east, which departures will go upstairs. We have to go up another level for jetways. And of course, mentioned parking. With all of this increased passenger growth, we're expecting increased parking capacity issues. So I think that's about it, really.
Sorry. Thank you very much for that. We're going to finally end here with, from Loop Cayman, Mr. Alric Lindsay.
Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting us to a very informative press conference. I want to say, first of all, that I'm very happy that we have this type of chairman who is thinking long-term, and thinking about the interests of the Cayman Islands. And I'm very happy to hear that he's also interested in having this EIA done, which is then going to inform other parts of the project. As we know, a lot of times the public reacts very quickly to projects like this, which, as you say, will go into the North Sound. Now, it's always important for the public to understand that what you presented are just plans. And a lot of times people react and think that a decision has been made and this damage is going to be done and that damage is going to be done. So I'm very happy to hear that you are proceeding with EIA to consider all environmental impacts, and you're also considering long-term sustainability, which is a breath of fresh air compared to what we've seen in the past with some other boards. So having said that, my one question is, in your view, what impact will the redevelopment have on airport operations and passenger experience during the construction period? So the 4 projects that we're addressing during the construction phase should have no impact. At Oriya, for example, with the proposed runway extension, that work can be done without impacting air traffic. So we did, if you remember, the last runway work that we did was extensive across the whole runway, and we didn't impact traffic during that period. Admittedly, it was during a low traffic period during the pandemic. But yes, it can be worked out to be done without impacting traffic. The general aviation will not impact traffic. It's a completely different location on the site from the existing GA. So we can build and then transfer. And the Cayman Brat works again is off the runway and can be done without impacting traffic. So I don't see any impact to passengers or air traffic from any of those projects. Thank you, CEO. As a sort of a follow-up question, in terms of, as you proceed with EIA and you think about the impacts and you do public consultation and come to sort of a final plan, how will the airport measure success of the project, and what metrics will be used to evaluate the impact?
So again, if I take the 4 projects, the ones that we can, measure success, and so the Cayman Brac one is a regulatory requirement. It's something we have to do. The air traffic one is also a regulatory requirement, but we can measure success on that in terms of the efficiency of arriving and departing traffic. For example, the way we've handled air traffic today means we have to keep aircraft a certain distance apart in the air because we're not using the radar or the ADS-B. Once we get that in place, we're able to keep them closer together because we have more precise information on where they are. So we can then line up more aircraft for landing or takeoff at a given time. So we can we can improve the efficiency of the air traffic. And the runway extension, if and when that is put in place, Ms. Rosa has already defined what we expect from that, and we can measure the results against that in terms of the tourism traffic.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Lindsay. We're going to go to final words from Minister Bryan.
Thank you so much, Donna, and I want to say thank you so much to my panelists for being here today. This is a major step for the country, as well as for our tourism product and our sustainability of our economy. I want to thank the listening audience, those who have tuned in via social media, those who tuned in via the radio. On behalf of the Premier, on behalf of the PAC members of this government, I want to say thank you so much. May God continue to bless you and our wonderful Cayman Islands.
All right, thank you very much, Minister Bryan, and thank you to the public, again, the media, as well as our panelists. I'm Donna Bush. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for joining Cayman Conversations as we seek to elevate the level of media conversations with our special guests from our walk of life. Remember, to like, share, and follow Caymanian Times social media pages. Don't forget to pick up your copy of our Wednesday and Friday newspapers at locations across the islands. Cayman Conversations is a production of the Caymanian Times newspaper. Have a great evening, and remember to drive safely on our roads. Goodbye.